Hey College Success, welcome to week 3 of our semester. First couple weeks seem to have flown by already. Here we are in week 3. Just a reminder, in the Start Here section, you are always welcome to return to your navigation video if you forget how to access something or just want to remind yourself of something. And then underneath the lessons area, you'll have the student services assignment. The walkthrough of how to register for your workshop is there. Hopefully now that you're kind of settled into your routine, you can start thinking about getting registered for a workshop. Those run from January until the end of the semester, but you do not want to wait to register or take a look at the list even. So that video is there, the Dropbox is right there. All right, so I'm gonna scroll down and we're gonna head into week 3. Week 3 covers chapter 2, so I'm going to encourage you to check out the chapter 2 lecture video. If you prefer instead to pull up the textbook slides or the chapter itself, either one, just spend some time with the content itself. So we're going to take a look just at a snapshot of the week. So you are very similar to last week, completing an original post by Wednesday for weekly attendance and responding to 2 classmates by Sunday. You're completing 2 chapter 2 assignments and then a chapter 2 quiz, and those assignments are all due on Sunday as well. So let's go ahead and hop right in and start talking about these assignments. So your chapter 2 discussion, your prompt says Amanda is struggling in her history class. She's good at remembering dates and facts, but the tests require her to analyze historical events through cause and effect. So she's not really sure how to change her learning styles and strategies to meet these requirements. What advice would you give her, and why do you think it would be helpful? So chapter 2 talks about learning preferences. So it talks about how, sometimes we prefer to take things in a visual, auditory, kinesthetic, like whatever way. And it seems that in this case, Amanda is really just like memorizing information. So maybe she's like reading it over and over, but she needs to connect it through cause and effect. So does she need to change the way that she studies? Does she need to do a different learning preference? Does she need to talk to someone? So what advice would you give her? That's the first part. And why do you think it would be helpful? So not just, oh, Amanda should study this way or Amanda should do that, like why? And I also want to remind you that you need to be close to 150 words. So I did have in the first 2 weeks people less than half of that. And so I just want to make sure that you know that you need to be around 150. Again, if you're off by a little bit, I'm not going to take points off, but if you're significantly missing words, then that's when you're going to see a little deduction there of those points. All right, so make sure you post your original response by Wednesday to this prompt and then respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. Okay, from there, we have our 2 chapter 2 assignments. This is called the Mindsets for Success. It's going to open up into this PDF that you can edit. So on the left-hand side, these are examples of what are called fixed mindsets. And it's kind of what it sounds like. These are fixed, they're not changing. Whereas this side is supposed to be for growth mindsets, where there's room for growth. Now, sorry about this, there's a duplicate down there. So if you want to pick 2 things to talk about, you can, or you can just skip that part altogether. What you're going to do though is take these statements, my professor doesn't like me, this is too hard, I don't have time, and turn them into growth statements. And so, I don't know, let's look at this. I don't see the need for doing this task. I might say something, by doing this task, I can practice patience, or I can practice my basic math skills, or whatever it might be. The point is, the growth mindset is supposed to allow you a little bit more room for improvement if you invest time, energy, effort, those type of things. In a way, it's almost like these fixed mindsets are a little bit pessimistic and the growth mindsets are a little more optimistic. So that's one way to kind of look at it, but chapter 2 talks a little bit more about this. When you're done, make sure that you save it with your changes, or else you're going to upload a blank document to me. So save it with your changes, and then this is a file submission, which means you need to Dropbox that assignment. From there, we have another Dropbox assignment, the 10 to 25 year from now you. It's going to open up into another document that you can edit. And this is part of goal setting, because we would like to make sure that we're setting goals, especially early in the semester, to make sure that we are being accountable to ourselves and we're putting them into action. And so this is having you look at 10 to 25 years from now. If you ran into your teacher in 10 years and then again 25 years, what is your life going to look like? And so it's helping you visualize and set goals. So it has it compartmentalized. So what will your education look like in those 2 time periods? Your relationships, your financial status, your living environment, and then others. For this, I've had people put down like travel or pets or things like that. But that's totally up to you if you have something you want to put in there. So when you go in here, again, you'll type, tell me what you want to say, and then make sure you save it with your changes. So again, just kind of, it's an exercise in like visualizing and goal setting. And you'll Dropbox that. And then finally, your chapter 2 quiz. So this is going to open up into a Word doc, and again, it's a Dropbox assignment. So here we go, here are your questions. Question 1, think about teachers and experiences you've had in the past. In what ways did these teachers or these experiences cause you to doubt your potential? So did you have any experiences either with a person or just an experience in general that made you question whether you could succeed? And in what ways did someone inspire you? So did you have a teacher who motivated you or an experience that motivated you? And then based on what you learned about grit, what is your belief about your likelihood of reaching your goals? So what kind of information do you have regarding your own grit, your own maybe past, that you might be able to apply to talking about and thinking about reaching your goals? Question 2, if you have children or younger siblings, so this could be cousins, your own children, siblings, neighbors, nieces, nephews, anything like that, what kinds of messages are you sending about working hard to reach a goal? What are you sending about struggling and encountering failure? Do you think you should change these messages, and how can you do this? So talk about how maybe the type of role model you are being, whether you mean to or not, to younger people around you regarding working hard, succeeding, or failing. Question 3, when was the last time you asked a question in class? And this is really referring to like an in-person class. So depending on your kind of experience with in-person classes, you might have to think back a little bit, or it could be over the past couple weeks since you've been back in the college setting. Were you worried about what others might think? Like, how were you feeling? Or were you more interested in the answer? Talk about the thoughts you had and analyze what you learned from that experience. So it's really making you think about asking questions and how that makes you feel. Question 4 refers back to the assignment I just got done talking about. Have you ever considered if you have growth or fixed? In what ways do you kind of visualize yourself? And then how can just knowing about growth or fixed mindsets influence your decisions and future actions? And then finally, question 5, have you ever heard about the hidden curriculum before? And if you can, like, find someone to talk and, say, hey, have you heard about this? And then what are things that a college student needs to know about college that no one tells you in advance? Are there certain things that, like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this before stepping into the classroom on day 1. So make that list of things college students should know in order to be successful, and explain them. So not just a list, but like, hey, you should get your financial aid done a month ahead of time, or whatever it might be that you feel like, I wish I would have known this, or I wish someone would have told me this, or this is what I'm going to tell my friend or whoever it might be before they start. All right, make sure when you answer these questions, you are responding in 2 to 5 complete sentences, and you're answering all parts of your question. And then when you're done with that, you'll Dropbox that as well. So real quick recap of what we're doing this week. We're spending time in chapter 2 somehow with the video, the chapter itself, the PowerPoint. Then we are going to complete our chapter 2 discussion on Amanda and her studying by Wednesday for your weekly attendance, respond to 2 classmates by Sunday, and then you're completing the chapter 2 mindsets for success, the 10 to 25 year from now, and the quiz all by Sunday as well. I also encourage you to take a look at the student services assignment videos so you can know what's going on there. All right, have a great week.